Everyone is good. So today we are going to use 3ds Max to export our 3D models, and we are going to import it into the Unreal Engine. After that, we will start to create some materials as base materials, and we will create some instance materials from the base materials, and we will just work on some lighting stuffs to make it a little bit fancier, and maybe we can add some post-process volume to see how the color works in the scene. And after that, we can talk a little bit technical stuffs on the materials, creating some advanced materials, and creating another parameters to control materials, the outside of the material. And I think we can start it with the exporting this model. I am just going to select all of them, or I can directly export it or export selected. And I'm going to give a name like version 2. I am just being sure that smoothing groups are enabled. Maybe some of the programs, software such as Cinema 4D is not using smoothing groups, but there was another name of it, but I'm not very sure the name of it. But for the Autodesk softwares, it's smoothing groups, so it has to be enabled for the proper smoothing the faces. So I just exported it. So I'm going to create a new project. And just blueprint. Maybe you are remembering it from the first session. So we have the project right now. So I am going to create a folder for the Virtual Studios in my content browser. And we can create another folder for the 3D meshes, and just simply click the import. So in this menu, you can import lots of assets, and you can see the supports of the extensions of the files. And it can create lots of base materials, so which is the thing that we don't want, because we just want to create on the base. We just want to create base materials on the content browser directly to maintain the optimization, and we just want to control the materials with creating it and manipulating it directly. So I'm not going to select do not create materials, and I'm deselecting the import textures. And for the skeletal mesh part, the meshes has bones will be considered as skeletal meshes in the Unreal Engine. So in these models, we don't have any bone. So I am going to deselect it, and I will just directly import it like this. Also, there are some advanced tab for the FBX materials, so it's totally up to our requirements. So maybe some of the objects can be reversed faces, so we can just modify some of the like this normal generation or the compete another fields to import it, so it can really dynamic this fields. So you can choose your according to your requirements, actually. So I'm going to import all. As you can see, here's the meshes. So I just saved them with Ctrl S, and I will create another folder for my level, and I will call it maps. Let's create our new level with empty level will be enough for us. And I'm going to save this new level into my maps folder, like Virtual Studio 1, for example. So we imported this, and we can simply drag and drop to viewport. And I just, as you can see, there's a button, and this button is responsible for the resetting the transforms into the 0 or the default forms of the mesh. So we just resetted it, and as you can see, there is no any light, but we can see the highlights of the objects because they are all selected, as you can see on our outliner menu. I am just going to add a basically volume, which is called post-process volume, and I am going to set it to 0. And if you are remembering the last session of our training, it's a volume-based actor. So when we made some changes on this volume, we are only able to see when we enter this volume. To avoid it, to make it global, we just need to enable the infinite extent button to make it all. We are just making sure that it's affecting the whole world. And I'm going to set some parameters to 1, just called exposure, and if we are not going to fix it on a 1 or the constant value, it will be try to adjust the lighting of the camera according to the view. So we don't want that. So we are just fixing it, and we can add some lights on here, like spotlights. And let's make a bigger light to see the whole scene. So I am going to increase it like a higher values, and we can. So as you can see, we have imported the model and added some lights on it, and we have a post-process volume that we can play it easily for the color grading part. For example, we can add some contrast or decreased contrast like this. So we just need to create some materials for these objects. So I am going to create a new folder called materials, and we can create a new material on the content browser by just right-clicking it. We will see the material and just click it, and I'm going to call it as material and base color. So we have the base color. So we are going to create some parameters like color or the roughness parameters, and maybe we can add some normal maps, and we can play the intensity of the normal to give some much more detailed surface, or we can decrease it on the instances that we have created before, like this on the base. By the way, I am sorry, it's going to be base material, not the base color. So I will just add a RGB or the vector tree with simply clicking tree and left click, or I can search it as vector tree, constant vector tree, like this. So constant constant nodes won't be exposed to the material instances. So we just need to convert them to the parameters to see them in the material instances that we are going to create it in a few minutes. So I just plug this to base color to give a color, and I am going to call it as I am going to convert it to parameter, and I will just give a name on it and press enter and apply. And we can directly drag and drop to the mesh, or we can simply select the object and assign the material to here. but we are going to create some instances. We are not directly using this base material. So I am going to create another folder for the instances. And let's create a new material instance by right-clicking on the base material. And as you can see, there is an option called Create Material Instance. I just created it, and I am going to call it, for example, floor. I will only use it for the floor, let's say. And I just move it to the instances. And when I double-clicked, as you can see, it derives from the base material as the displays, but it has a different UI. So in this UI, we just converted our parameter constant to parameter and give a name as color. And we are able to see that color parameter in here in the instances. So I am just going to select my instance material to assign it to my model. So we are not going to use the base material. We are only using the instance material right now. And when I change it the color, as you can see, it run times. We can see the change as real time, like this. So let's add more parameters like constant 1. I can directly type constant 1 or the S and left mouse button for the parameter constant. So let's add it as a constant, and we will convert it to the parameter. And I'm going to plug it to the roughness, for example, and I am going to call it as roughness. As you can see, there is no any roughness in here. This is because we didn't hit the apply button. And when I apply it, and there is another option for the roughness. So let's make it a little bit darker to see the effects of the surface. And as you can see, we can change the roughness of the surface with it. So maybe we can add some normal maps. So normal maps is giving some depth for the surface. It's calculated differently, and it will respond to light's position when we add some normal maps. I am going to find some example normal maps on the engine that is provided by the Epic Games. I am just selecting the show engine content in here, otherwise we won't be see it. So we need to make sure that we need to see the engine content. We need to check it in order to see them. So engine, and here is the filtering. So let's reset the filters, and I just want to add some basic filters like textures, static mesh, and the materials. So I am going to only look for a texture, so that's why I selected a filter based on texture, and I am simply called the normal in the texture filters. So they are all normal maps. For example, this texture can be good for us. So simply I am selecting this texture to here and RGB to the normal. And as you can see, our material surface is changed with the normal map. And when I hit apply, we will see this normal map in here. But as you can see, it's too much and it's too big. So we need to scale them on the UV side. So for the modifying the UV, we just need to add some texture coordinates node. So it has two parameters, U tiling and V tiling, which is default is selected as 1. We can connect it to the UV of the texture that we added. It doesn't matter is it normal map or the texture. We can add all the textures. We will have that UV inputs for all the textures. So when I change it, this parameter U and V tile, we will see the changes on this texture. As you can see, it's too small right now. We can adjust it like this. Let's hit apply. So how to expose it to the material instance for this UV? We'll basically multiply this coordinate, these parameters with another parameter. We can simply type multiply, or we can press M and left click to add it as shortcuts. So I will just get these values, and I am going to multiply these parameters with another constant or the scalar parameter. I am just adding scalar parameters in order to see them in the material instances. Or simply I can use the constant. Yes, it won't be any problem, but I am not going to see it in the material instances. So that's why I am converting it to the parameter for the future changes. So I can change them, I can change this material parameters with the instance easily. So let's call it a normal tile, and to press, and I am going to reset these values as 1. And as you can see, we just added a tile to the normal map, and we are not able to see this on the screen. Any idea why?
Zero.
Yes,
Zero.
because we are multiplying it with 0, and it will be 0. So when I increase the normal tile, you can see I can dynamically change. But what will be happen if you want to modify this texture as 2 channels like U and V? So we just want to scale it as horizontal, or we just want to scale it vertically. So we need to divide the channels into 2, and we can add some parameters in here for the dividing. Red, and the second one will be green. So it says masks in here, but the name of it component mask. So I added 2 masks to divide it into 2 channels, and I am going to multiply all the channels differently. So it will give me 2 parameters in the end. So I can multiply U or the V as I want. So I am going to append them in the end after the calculation. And so basically we created, but we haven't added any parameter or the constant value, so they are just directly multiplying it with 1. So let's create a scalar parameter, U tile normal, we can say, or we can add also V tile, and let's make it 1 as a default one. So we have the U and V tile for the normal, and I can change it dynamically as horizontal or vertically. So this is how we manipulate the materials easily. Also, we have some another notes, like if you want to move this normal map in the UV, we can use a panel node, for example, to add some UV, and we can have a time node, so it's engine's background timing node. It can change according to our current FPS. And we can add a 2 and left click mouse button to add constant 2, red and green, for example. And we can convert it to the parameter to speed normal. For example, it can be a backend for us to create a wave for the waters, for example. I am going to increase the speed a little bit more, and as you can see, there's a flow only for the X side of the texture. And I can add, if I increase the value of the parameter, it will go much more faster. So this is not needed, but it will be easy for you to see how the dynamically change the textures UV form. So for the materials, I am going to show you how to add comments. I am suggesting, I am encouraging all of you to use the comments, because you can create the spaghetti view, and after a while, when you check the project, you might not understand, and you start to think, what did I do in here? And you can add basically press C to add some comments, and you can type what's your calculation in here, what's the point of this nodes in here. For example, in here we just manipulated the UV, and it's about tiling the texture and panning the UV. So we can simply type tile and pan for the normal. Also, we have a color node in here. We can press C to add some comments, and we can say color. So, for example, if we want to manipulate the normal map's intensity density, so we can use a node called flatten normal. Let's add it. So after the UV manipulation, before going to the normal, we will make a process, and this color parameter will be our controller. Again, normal density, we can call it, and we are simply getting the result to the normal, and let's press apply, and as you can see, there is a normal density that we can change it. So we can manipulate the density with it, and we can completely disable it. One will be for the not using the normal textures. So let's add a normal texture and density we can call. Also, we can dynamically change the textures. In order to do that, we just need to convert this normal bitmap or the texture data to parameter. So we can right click on the texture and convert the parameter, and we will just give a name for the instances like normal texture. And when I apply, I will see the global texture parameter values as here. So let's see our normal map, for example, in here, and we can select another normal maps in here, but we also need to make some adjustments for the scaling. For example, this is normal right now, and we can manipulate it easily. let's add another normal. For example, this one. As you can see, it gives a depth to the surface. It's just another mesh's normal map, so this is why it's look weird. And this one will be enough for us. So we can manipulate the texture on the base material, on the instance, but we have a basically one material. So using this base material, we can create another instances, like we can call it walls, and we can simply add this to our scene, and I'm going to move it to my instances, and let's modify it for the walls. I'll just increase a little bit, and we can play the color of the wall. So it's a totally dynamic solution for us to create many materials with single base material. But please remember that all the changes that we did in the base material will affect all the material instances. So we can lose any effects if we make some changes on the base material. It will directly affect all the instances that we created. Great, so let's make it a little bit darker. And decrease the intensity. And we can add some lights, like this. So, for example, for these constructions, I want to create another parameter for my base material to give some metallic effects. So as you can see, metallic is default 0. So I'm going to create another scalar parameter for the metallic, and I will leave it as 0 for the default one. And let's create a new material instance, or we can duplicate it directly. And I just created a new material instance as mi material instance metallic, and I will just simply drag and drop the mesh or select it. So as you can see, all of my instances has metallic parameter right now, but they are 0 as default. So I will just increase the metallic value, and I will decrease the roughness, and we can make it white to have some metallic view on the surface. So my computer started to, it's fixed. Great. So at this point, maybe we can make some adjustments for our virtual scenes lighting. For example, we can play the temperature of this light, make it warmer or cold. And I am going to duplicate the lights like this, Ctrl C and Ctrl V, just copy and paste. And as you can see, I am just moving the lights in here, like this. So, using the source radius, I can create a smooth shadows in the Unreal Engine 5. But in Unreal Engine 4, it wasn't like that. We had to make a build, so this won't be work in the Unreal Engine 4, but Unreal Engine 5 we can go with this. And maybe we can make it warmer. edit more to here. So we can create another base material for our lights. I am just going to create a new material called base material lighting. So I am going to basically add some color parameter, and I will call it as color, and I will connect it directly to the emissive color in here. So we have the base material. I am going to create another material instance from this new base material and call it like MI light, for example. Let's just try to adjust it. As you can see, we have a color. I'll just increase the color to see it more, to see much more visible, hopefully. But there is a problem. So this is a only lighting material, and it can also be. It has a surface that can reflect all the environment. So it means that it will have much more instructions for this calculation on the GPU graphical card side. So we just need to avoid it. And since we only need some emissive lighting, we can disable some features on the base material. I am on my base material for the lighting, and I am going to simply select shading model to unlit. So as you can see, the other feature is gone, and it became much more cheaper to calculate it. Also, we can add a multiply node to control this light's intensity. Just like we did before, I just added a scalar parameter or constant value and convert it to the parameter. And let's call it emissive light. And default will be 1. So we have this material instance, and we are able to control the material's light intensity with material instances like this. So we can have this light. For example, we can this, or we can this. We can add external lights for the scene. I am also going to move this instance to my another folder where I keep these instances. And we can create another material instance for the ceilings. For example, like this. Let's only control it. We can disable the normal. And we can increase the reflectivity of the surface, and we can directly play with the color of the surface. Okay, great. So I will just check the other topics. If I am just making sure that I'm not going to. Okay. Also, we created our lights, we created our materials. So I just want to mention about a level sequencer tool. So with the level sequencer tool, we can able to create shots actually, but it's not needed for the. It's not only be used for the cameras. So we can directly manipulate the transforms of the mesh, or we can directly play with the parameters on the level sequencer tool easily. So I am going to hit this button to add level sequence to my content browser. Let's create a new folder, cinematics called, maybe with the ls prefixes, and I will call it as intro, for example. So I have a timeline in here. As you can see, we can change it according to our needs or according to our render. So in here, there is a button called add. So in here, we can add some sub-sequences to the timeline, or we can add some fades, we can add camera cuts, we can transform the camera movements easily. So add to sequencer menu will provide me the outliners mesh. So outliner has the mesh list that I am currently seeing it on my level, and I'm able to select this all the actors in the scene with this, or I can directly drag and drop to my sequencer like this. So by default, I just simply get a static mesh, an object, a 3D object to my sequencer, and as you can see, there is a transform track. So I will just add a enter or a key to add this current position, and I will just move forward a little bit, and I will I will change the rotation of this mesh, and I will just simply click the position. So we only just selected a single axis on the rotation. So as you can see, we can remove them because we didn't made any changes on the location. We only modified the rotation. So having only this rotation info will be enough for us. So we can remove these tracks and we can directly manipulate this rotation axis. And as you can see, I played it, so it just directly moves it. So what about, by the way, is it clear? So I can go over with the sequencer tool if you need. Okay, I will continue for the material changes on the level sequencer then. So let's assign a new material instance to this. We can call it like, I don't know, let's call it walls 2. Let me assign it. So I select my objects, and I just want to add a static mesh component to it. In here, I am not going to add it. I am going to get this component into my level sequencer tool. It's an object, it's an actor, and the object called as static mesh component. I am going to only select the material parameters in here. So slots are directly this. So element 0 will be our first material parameters, and the second one will be this. So it's totally up to our material instances, material IDs on our 3D meshes. So I am going to, I only have a valid material instance on the material ID 0. So I am going to select at the first index of material parameter and just edit. As you can see on my material slots, on my first material, I have the same fields that I have created on my base material, and so I can manipulate them in material instances. Also, I can manipulate them in level sequencer tool. For example, we can change the color of this material like this. For example, this is the current color parameter. Just simply add a key, and let's move a little bit further, and let's make it a little bit red. Yeah, it became pink. So this is the new status of the color. As you can can see, we can directly change the color with easily. Also, we can add other parameters like roughness. For example, it can start like this. And we can increase it to make it a much more rough surface. So as you can see, it was reflecting the environment, but when we change this, it's not reflecting anymore. It goes same for all the material instances and the parameters that we have created in our base material. So we can directly type our base materials according to our needs and directly manipulate them in the sequencer tool easily. Also, we have a shortcut for the duplicating the keyframes, like pressing Alt and selecting it and just moving the key. So we have this. We are just duplicated it, so it is the same value as here. But if we change it to 0, you will see that after rough surface, it will become like much more reflective surface in the level sequencer tool. So we can add any additional objects, for example this, and I'm going to add some basic transform to this material, this object. I just want to, for example, modify the z-axis like this. So as you can see, it's created an interpolation line between it. Yeah. So it's totally up to our frames place. It will, if we move it further, it will just become a slow-mo. It will become much more slower. And also, we have a button like this for the curve view. So, as you can see, this is our Z. Also, we will work with it tomorrow, but not in the sequencer tool. We will have a node called timeline. So we can programmatically write on our timeline like this curves, and we can manipulate the transform as on the blueprint side. So it's not the only tool for animating it. So as you can see, is our Z, and if we make it a little bit, so you will see the real-time change on here, or we can modify their tangents for the interpolation. As you can see, it will be it was smooth, but right now it's not smoothing. The blend is changed, or for example, we can play the tangents like this. Maybe we can create our bouncing effects, etc. with the manipulating this tangents in here. And there are some several tangents like constant, linear, or I didn't know actually that Smart Auto. I think it's new in the Unreal Engine 5, but it just tries to implement what's the best for this current curve.